The only true test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life.
Very true, and honestly, I can call myself not that intelligent. After doing over $5 million in revenue and hiring 50 people, those were not the real things I wanted out of life. Well, in this video, Naval Ravikant will share 10 traps to escape from and 8 truths that I wish I knew sooner.
The only true test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life, and that triggers a lot of people. But how else do you know? How else do you know if you're smart? If you're not getting what you want out of life, how smart are you really? Okay, you might have had bad luck once upon a time, but consistently, every time, I doubt it.
The only true test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. So then how do you get what you want out of life?
And there's 2 parts to that. One is actually testing yourself against the world to see if you get what you want.
Well, before Naval shares the second way that for me has been far more important and a big trap that I fell for. The first way to get what you want out of life is to test yourself against the world. But how can you test yourself and get this feedback?
Free markets, where in a free market, it's not a mob, it's actually the opposite. The applause comes from the mob, which is a group of people who are thinking the same and trying to coordinate. A free market is where individuals are voting differently, and they're voting on a merit basis, and they're being punished for bad predictions, and they're being rewarded for good predictions. So free markets are also a source of truth seeking, in that, for example, if I think Alphabet is a great stock and I buy it, but I turn out to be wrong, then the truth of the market will punish me as the feedback comes in, and I will lose my money.
Participating in free markets are a test of your intelligence. Like if I really think that I'm that smart and good at making videos, then I could test myself in a somewhat free market of social media and YouTube, which I do. And so if you want this free Google Sheet with over 80 free tools that I use in my business, but also personal life, then you know what to do. But free markets are not the only way to get feedback.
There's also a truth of social approval, which is if I want to get along with my group, then I can take feedback from people. Like, did you like that? Did you approve of what I did? If you're really looking for truth, it's the opposite of looking for social approval.
And I would say in general, may you avoid seeking feedback from people. Of course, there is nuance, but I made a lot of mistakes. Literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because at the root of those decisions, I was optimizing for social approval and status. So like Naval once said, if you want to make the wrong decision, ask everyone. And how I like to say it, the crowd claps, the market slaps. Which brings us to the second way to get what you want out of life.
The other is wanting the right things in the first place. You know, I wish I was 20 years old and had wings. It's not going to happen. So you got to wish for the right things too.
So the second way to get what you want is actually wanting the right things. But what does that mean? Well, when I speak for myself, I thought I wanted to be rich. But after some honest reflections, I was much more obsessed with revenue, employee count, and status. Because I did over $5 million, hired over 50 people, but made very little profit. So the first component is becoming aware of what you want most. Because if I did find out earlier that I was sacrificing profit for revenue and status, I would have made very different decisions.
One of the things I've learned relatively recently in life is that it's way more important to perfect your desires if you want to do something than it is to try to do that thing when your desire is not 100%. An example would be like, self-discipline. When we say, okay, I want self-discipline, like to eat healthy food, you might be constantly fighting with yourself. Oh, I just ate unhealthy food. Oh, I just ate healthy food. But I think if you look at the desire component, if you had the desire to eat the healthy food, then you would do it effortlessly. You wouldn't need the self-discipline. And so what that means is it's way more important to figure out what are the tastiest healthy foods that you like and making sure that they're always available to you, as opposed to then just having a constant self-discipline while putting yourself in environments where the tasty healthy food isn't around.
Perfect your desires. Find what feels more effortless so you don't need self-discipline.
Self-discipline it's tough. You won't sustain it. Like, Tiger Woods didn't become a great golfer through self-discipline.
To find and choose your greatest desire in an area where you are also naturally talented in because of DNA, that seems to be intelligent if you want to become the best in your field. But what if you simply want to just make a lot of money? 1 million, 5 million, 20 million? What if that is the thing you want most at this moment?
Hard work has very little to do with effectiveness. The grocery store owner or the person working at a restaurant might work 60, 80 hours a week, and that might be all Elon Musk is working. But Elon's making a lot more money because of his specific knowledge that cannot be taught, but can be learned on the job if you have a strong enough desire.
Hard work is not the primary cause of success. Specific knowledge is much more important. And you learn the most specific knowledge in the area of your greatest desire. By the way, if you care about truth, I share specific knowledge that I find in my business and personal life in my weekly 2-minute email. It's free, but only if you're serious. And you receive it when you download this free Google Sheet with over 80 free tools that I use. Trust me, it's good. Anyways, one caveat here, and it's a big one. Happiness is one thing. What what you already have. So maybe see through the following paradox.
How do you start living the life you want when you don't have enough money? There's this other guy on Twitter, Liad Chabot. He had a great tweet where he said, not wanting something is as good as having it. So except for maybe one thing that you're working on at a time, I would suggest that for everything else, you should cultivate not wanting it. Indifference is actually the ultimate superpower. If you want to win a negotiation, you just have to care less than the other person. If you want the upper hand in a relationship, you just have to care less than the other person. Weirdly enough, it even works in business opportunities. The less you kind of genuinely want them, the more they're offered to you, assuming you have a certain level of skill set. I'm not saying be apathetic, but I'm saying that you kind of have to be quantumous. You have to be good with the outcome either way. You still do your best job. You still put in the effort because that's who you are, but you don't get attached to the outcome. This is wisdom that's as old as the hill. This goes back to the Bhagavad Gita. But yeah, I think detachment is good because detachment is necessary for peace and peace is necessary for happiness. So even though we're taught and educated by society to be passionate and not detached, I think it's okay to be passionate about one thing at a time, but you can't be passionate about too many things, especially things you can't control. If you're passionate about things outside of your control, like politics, you're going to be miserable.
Peace isn't found in having more, it's found in needing less. But I hear you, or better said, I hear your mind. And I could imagine it is thinking, but Jordan, I care more about money than peace at this point in my life. Well then, listen closely.
If you want to make the maximum amount of money possible, if you just want to get rich over your life, and you want to do it in a deterministic, predictable way, what you would do is you would basically stay on the bleeding edge of trends, and you would study technology and yes, design and art and things that you think, and you would become really good at something. You would basically be waiting for your moment until something emerged in the world where they needed that skill set and you're uniquely qualified. You would build your brand in the meantime on Twitter, on YouTube, by giving away free work so people have heard of you. You would make a name for yourself and you would take some risks in the process. And then when it was time to move in on that opportunity, you would do so with leverage, the maximum leverage possible. And the maximum leverage would mean that you would have people working for you. It would mean you would have a fund or you would have capital. It would mean that you would be writing a book. It would mean that you would be writing code and that you would be building a media presence.
Alright, a big thing that I hear Naval speaking about very often is this specific knowledge. But what does he mean with that and how do you find yours?
That's really what it boils down to, is curiosity and sort of a commitment to learning the correct answer. And I think if you have that, then you can fulfill almost any desire. All the tools are there. As I've clicked before on Twitter, like the means of learning are abundance. It's a desire to learn that's scarce. And that's true even within me. Most of the time I'm exhausted. I don't want to learn. That's when I relax or do the things that I'm already good at. But at the same time, if I look back on my life, almost everything great that I've managed to pull off is great by my own definition, or by the world's definition. And it's come from following my own natural intellectual obsessions.
The more curious you are and follow that curiosity, the more specific knowledge you learn. Which reminded me of Naval's recent tweet where he wrote, "No entrepreneur is worried about an AI taking their job." And as an entrepreneur myself, I very much agree. But I don't fully agree with the following.
Of course, the right kinds of knowledge, what I call specific knowledge in my tweet star, is very important. Knowledge on the edge of what humanity knows and wants. And if you work hard enough at it, if you're obsessed with it, you figure it out. That kind of knowledge can be monetized much more than certain knowledge, which is now common. For example, if ChatGPT can spit it back to you, you're not going to monetize it. Everybody else can get access to it.
Well, I understand the point he's trying to make, but as always, there's nuance, and a lot of people are making a lot of money by selling services using AI to those who are simply unaware of the capabilities. So I think the following is much more fundamental, but also overlooked.
You're attracted to what you want to be. And as you immerse yourself in it, you have no choice but to become that over time. It's like in wealth creation. If you want to start a company, you go to Silicon Valley or you go to a pool of entrepreneurs and you spend enough time around them. You hang around the tech business long enough and you'll be in the tech business. You hang around a bunch of techies, you'll be talking tech all day. So we're naturally drawn to certain things. And if we can immerse ourselves in them, it creates inevitability to the future.
Your environment shapes your future much more than you think. Or how Alex Emoji wrote, who you compare yourself to dictates who you become. Which has been very true for me. So avoid the following, that truthfully, I think I've done a lot in my life.
The natural truth-seeking mechanisms will lead you to truth. The social one will lead you to social approval, but it will not lead you to truth. It can lead you into all kinds of dead ends. And unfortunately, most people not only get their feedback from there, they actually get their theories from there. So that's what I call the difference between reasoning from first principles versus reasoning by proxy. If you're reasoning from first principles, which is what you should do for things that you really care about, then you would examine the truth of the statement for yourself. You would be skeptical, you would test it, and then if it turns out to be true, you would know that because you get feedback from the right places.
So avoid the trap of getting not only feedback but also your theories from people, and I would add to that, who don't care about truth. Again, not only getting your feedback but also your theories from people who don't care about truth. Like Cristiano Ronaldo telling you to be disciplined and work hard because he believes that that is good advice for everyone. While the truth is that in order to reach his level, you need a lot of talent. And some luck too, like not getting injured. But why should you avoid getting feedback and your theories from groups of people if you, for example, want to be rich?
I'm deeply suspicious of groups of people coming to the truth in anything, because it's not to say groups are bad. Humans are cooperators by nature. We need groups to get things done. But groups need consensus. A group that does not have consensus will fall apart. So a group will not admit its mistakes. It will not admit that it was wrong. It will not pivot. It's not a truth-seeking entity.
Groups need consensus, or else they fall apart and they're no longer a group. It reminds me of this quote from Naval: when everyone is sick, we no longer consider it a disease. A simple example is a group of friends where one person wants to go to a cinema, the other wants to play padel, the third wants to hang out at their place, and the fourth wants to go skydiving. If they don't find consensus, at least in that moment, the group falls apart. So I think a big realization here that at least I had for myself is that being alone is much better than being with the wrong group or even wrong individual like your girlfriend. Well, here's how Naval thinks about that.
Solitude is important and underrated. I need more of it for sure, but everyone's different. I think it depends if you're an inner journey or an outer journey. And people go through both in life, usually outer first, inner later. So if you're going to the outer part of your journey, then you want to be outside, you want to be meeting people, you want to be active. If you're in the inner part of your journey, you need solitude. One thing that I've never found useful is, meditation and yoga get converted into these multiplayer games where it's then like you're doing it with other people, and it's kind of a socialization and connection thing, which is fine, that has merit, but I prefer the single player game.
So play the social and status game if you want or need to in order to fulfill your desires, but avoid the following trap.
What is the end goal for me? There is no end goal. The meaning of life question is kind of a nonsense question. Any end goal will just lead to kind of another goal, lead to another goal. We just play games in life, right? You grow up, you're playing the school game, you're playing the social game, then you're playing the money game, then you're playing the status game. And these games just sort of have longer and longer and longer lived horizons. But at some point, at least I believe that these are all just games. And so, but they're games where the outcome really stops mattering once you kind of see through a game. It's like, I don't know how many of you have been hardcore video gamers, but you play a lot of games, and then after a while you pick up the 50th game or the 100th game, and the cycle that you're going to go through. You're going to go through this rush as you get into it, then you're going to lose yourself in it, and then eventually you're just going to get tired of it. It's just going to be this Ferris wheel where you're going to ride the dopamine up and you're going to ride the dopamine down. And so then you just get tired of games. So I would say I'm kind of at the stage where I'm just tired of games. So I don't think there is any end goal or purpose. I'm just living life as I want to. I'm literally just doing it moment to moment. Yeah, exactly. Gary mentioned just the hedonic treadmill. It's a hedonic treadmill. So, I want to be off the hedonic treadmill.
The hedonic treadmill. Porn, video games, social media, doom scrolling, dopamine, the rat race. Naval talks about it in this video, which has given me a fundamental insight that I wish I had earlier in my life, before wasting a lot of time. I think every man should at least hear it at least once. Talk soon.